And welcome to the second official episode of Apex After Hours, where we spend just about an hour, hour and a half as a post-game to the ALGS, and also talking about the entirety of Apex Legends, all things Apex Legends, Apex Esports, and more, all from the opinions you care most about, the pro players and the ones that are in the trenches playing every single day, featuring some very special guests as well. And look, speaking of special guests, I'm excited to introduce and welcome for the very first time on Apex After Hours, one of the brightest minds in Apex Legends, one of the most historic names and brands in Apex. It's none other than Alberly, alongside reigning ALGS champion Anmu from 100 Thieves. Let's go ahead and welcome in the boys. You already know Snipedown's joining me, my regular co-host here for the show. Boys, we're back here to talk about some important topics. A lot to discuss today, that's for sure. But look, I want first things first, just hear how you guys are doing. Anmu, starting with you. I know you just got done with a little bit of a grinder there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling good. Little bittersweet, you know, knowing that first was within reach, but second's not bad.
Yeah, and Alb, of course, you took the day off today. Lanimals needs to go big, you know, his last day or two of Pro League. How you feeling, man? Did you enjoy? Did you watch party, or were you just chilling?
I was just chilling, but I was watching the games while I was just hanging out. And, I mean, after the games today, we're still in a pretty good spot on the board to, like, actually make LAN. We're still sitting in, like, 14th overall, and a lot of the teams that only have, like, 4 games played are still beneath us. So I'm still feeling good about making LAN.
Would be such an awesome story, man. Obviously, your team's one of the most fun to watch. You and Lou on one squad. I'm excited to dig into that, and of course, a lot more. But last but not least, Snipedown, you were also chilling with me, watch partying. How you feeling, brother?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. It was nice to sit out for a week. I know there's been a lot of stress going on with some of the things that have been happening with the game. So as tough as it is being 5 weeks in, and a couple of the teams only had 3-4 weeks. You know, it's nice to take a step back, kind of see where everyone placed after this weekend, and you know, now we just get to focus on what happens next week.
Yeah, if there's any week that's probably a good week to sit out on, it's this week with a lot of things going on, some server issues in APAC North, and certainly a lot to talk about. And speaking of which, let's go ahead and break down the topics for today, just so everyone's aware of what we're going to be discussing. First things first, we're doing a post-game, post-ALGS breakdown of all things that we just saw over the last 6 games in NA Pro League. Obviously, Anmu is competing in that one. Gonna get Alberly and Snipedown's take as well. We'll have a little bit of discussion around the meta right now. We saw a lot more Rampart today, which was interesting. Certainly a lot to talk about. Some rumors swirling around that Alberly's team are going to be running Gibby, the return of the Gibby. I love that face. So we'll get his take on that, and if that's happening for sure. So we'll just discuss all things Apex Esports, as Alba has to look to make sure nothing dangerous happened and something chopped behind him. And then from there, it was your cat. Of course, it's always the cat. Cats are evil, by the way. And then, of course, from there, we'll move to just a bit of a team discussion. I'm really interested to hear some more detail around Lanimals, how things are going, how they're meshing as a team. I want to get Anmu's perspective on 100 Thieves. I want to get Snipe's perspective on FaZe. Always good to hear from the players themselves that live and breathe everything with their team. Obviously, a slightly biased perspective, but always good to get their perspectives. So we'll do a bit of a team discussion. Then we'll move on to state of the game. I think the most important topic we'd be remiss to not discuss right now is just the state of our game all up. Audio issues that plagued the LGS today. We also had server issues plaguing APAC North significantly. There's a lot from a technical perspective that's just making the game really difficult to play and tough to watch. And we got to talk about that if we possibly can. And then last but not least, we'll wrap up with state of our esport. What can we do as an esport? What is needed right now to make sure that Apex is not just a 5-year esport, but a 10 or 15-year esport as well. So that's our topics for the entirety of the day. Let's go ahead and jump right into topic number 1. It's ALGS post-show and the result of the standings from ALGS today. Anmu, who says they're nocturnal, will get that graphic fixed. If you could change that to Anmu, Chrono, that'd be great. Now, Anmu, not nocturnal, would love to start with you. Would love your take. You guys obviously performed well today. First, like you said, was in grass, but which team stood out to you, and how do you think your team did today?
I think compared to last week, our team, obviously, we had a little bit of a role swap. We swapped Scurry and Vax. Scurry ended up playing Valkyrie again, and Vax went to Catalyst. So to basically put all that together in 1 week, I mean, it's hard to be upset with the second place, even though first was 3 points off. But I'm 100% upset. Jesus, I'm sorry, my brain's fried. I've been.
It's a long day.
I've been in the trenches, but it's hard to be upset though with our result. Probably the team that stood out the most to me would have been Glitch, though, because they also came off a pretty bad week last week as well. And they ended up pulling out a 3rd place, which was much needed for them to basically stay in contention for LAN.
Dude, I'm going to throw it out there. I do not give you guys enough credit. I'm just gonna be straight up. I keep saying it to myself. I was like, this 100 Thieves team catches me off guard all the time because I feel like you guys either win, like you guys win games, or you don't perform. I feel like you're like. Like I said, like you either end up at the top or you end up at the bottom, but you are more consistently at the top than you are, which is why you've always performed. You've made it to all these lands, and I think I think you are the only triple mouse and keyboard team. So I don't know like if that ever has gotten into your head about is it hard for us to fight, or if you just only focus on your own gameplay. But I mean. Personally, I mean, I gained a lot of respect for you guys this week as well because you did make those shift ups with Scurry and Vax, and I'm kind of curious as to what was the reasoning for that. Was this just to be more comfortable with those two players, or what kind of sparked that?
I think the main conversation was having Vax as our co-IGL, obviously, having him in control of basically a micro-rotational ability. Whereas, like, instead of me or Vax kind of relaying that information to Scurry and kind of having some confusion in it, it just eliminates that communication gap, like, altogether. And it's not like Scurry doesn't have experience on Valkyrie, like, we won champs with him on Valkyrie, so it's not like he's foreign to the character. Mm-hmm. So the swap was kind of easy in our opinion. It was just kind of just making sure that we gel and fill our roles in such a short time.
That's interesting. It's a big change. Now, Eric, you bring up a good point, man. You sleep on 100 Thieves. Who doesn't sleep on 100 Thieves? Like, let's be really honest, man. Going into every competition, it seems like 100 Thieves is the most slept-on team. Alb, I'd like your take on that. You're obviously a mouse and keyboard supremacy, one of the last standing. You've been competing against these guys for a long time, all MNK team. Do you think 100 Thieves is undeservedly slept on, or or a hot take here? Do you think that there was a time where they were maybe slipping, or would love your take on this squad?
Hey, not gonna hurt my feelings.
I love it a bit.
I'd say you guys are slept on primarily because I feel like you're more of a macro team than like a really, really strong fighting team. Like your rotates are just like top notch, just some of the best. And other teams tend to just get the spotlight just because of how like the ALGS observing works. Like you just see more teams that just brawl a lot than we get screen time of you guys. And I think that's really all it is.
That's a really good point. Anything you'd add to that? Any reason you kind of think you tend to be slept on, or do you think that's really the biggest reason right there?
I think that's the biggest reason. Like, we tend to not usually take as many early fights as probably most of the other teams that get a lot more time. And, I mean, it's not like you can really fault them for that. I mean, like, when you're showing a broadcast, you're not going to just show a team, run into zone when there's fights going on. You're going to show the fight, which I can't really blame them.
I just saw
I would say that's it.
I just saw on the graphic as well that you guys actually had the most kills on the day compared to all the other teams, even though like you didn't place first, but you had 34 kills on the day. And I mean, the next closest was with Dark Zero, who got 6 with 32, who is a very strong fighting team. That's kind of like where they get most of their points. So I mean, at the end of the day, if your macro is top notch, those kills are going to fall into your lap the further you get into the game. So I think that's kind of something that you guys have always been a strong with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I could agree.
They have that like perfected for their play style.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's actually interesting. I mean, you're the IGL of this team. You have been for a long time. I think you're also a slept-on IGL in a lot of ways. Co-IGLing now with Vax. Unless I'm wrong, you're still IGL in the squad, right? I'm not completely blanking here.
You're
okay,
not,
I was like, wait a minute. I thought you were Blake Sermon. I heard you say you gave some up to Vaxlon here recently. So you guys have always been. I don't think you've ever tried to be an edge fighting team. You guys have, as far as I remember, you guys have always been an early rotate.
Yeah, we've always been an
team.
early rotate, go to zone, and kind of basically control our space, clear an edge if we can, and then take as much space as we can at that point, and then steal kills from the outwards looking in.
Yep.
I think sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. The edge style of play is so inconsistent. Like we've seen for forever now that the teams that focus on their macro and have the best macro that get to late game are the ones that are the most consistent teams. I truthfully think if you're playing hard edge, then you don't have the full confidence in your macro to get like to the end game spots all the time. You're so focused on getting the kills and making up big games based on those big kills because maybe you don't know zones the best, or maybe you aren't fully confident to get to those end game spots, or maybe you just think your POI isn't good enough. There is always a way, whether you cut loot or find better rotations around other teams doing research. And I think, 100 Thieves is a great example of that to a T.
Thank you.
Yep. Yep, no, I'd agree with that. I think that's certainly a big part of it. As someone who's done, every LGS broadcast, you're spot on. You tend to kind of follow the teams that are playing aggressive early, and then you kind of continue to follow them, their trajectory, because you want to tell a narrative, you want to tell a story, right? So if a team started off with a 50-50, you want to keep following that team to the end. You're not going to follow 100 Thieves who's rotating for free towards the end. That's definitely a big part of it. I think another part, too, and I'll be honest with you, is you guys are very soft-spoken. You guys let your gameplay speak for yourselves. You guys don't talk a lot of trash. You guys, aren't the very outspoken, aggressive, out there personalities. Which I think, Amu, you got a great personality, man. It's a travesty that ALGS won't let you play with your headband. I think if
all I'm saying, man, is coming back. I'm fighting.
You're just gonna do it.
I'm just gonna do it.
You should.
Matafe wore it in London, man. Like, I'm bringing it back. I don't care.
Damn straight he is. I've literally escalated this to the commissioner of the ALGS, trying to say, why can't Amu knows this because I told him I would.
Oh yeah.
We've been talking about this for years. Amu with his headband on is a different. Do you feel like? To be honest, this might sound crazy, but do you feel more confident with it on? Is it like a thing or not really? Not really.
It's not really. Usually, I started wearing it because I had longer hair. I'm anyone who knows me, I'm kind of lazy. I'm a procrastinator. Except when it comes to Apex, but I just didn't get my hair cut one time, and I wore a headband, and I did good, so I just keep wearing it now.
So now it's a superstition thing, and look good, dress good,
dress good, feel good,
That's right.
Play good.
Next thing we're gonna have like war paint under the eyes going into lane.
The evolution of the Anmu. No, yeah. So it's good to get your take on that. Congratulations again on a big day today. But let's jump into a little bit more of a macro discussion. A lot of crazy things happened today, and I don't even think the LGS casters caught it. Optic was intentionally dropping fish farms to try and eliminate LG from the lobby. Al, would love your take on that. Did you see that happen? And do you think that's fair play, foul play? What's your take on that?
Oh, it's really smart to do, considering
Agreed.
they want the same POIs, right? You should absolutely be doing that in tournaments, and I think not enough teams take advantage of that when they're high in the standings to try and knock out a lower team that has a better POI. I think we should see more teams doing that kind of stuff.
Yep, completely agreed. We've seen a bit of it, from teams here and there. Eric, you were obviously talking about it and casting through it. Any thoughts that you have on the Optic versus LG rivalry?
Yeah, I mean, I think early on in Apex, people were almost too friendly with each other. I think people wanted to be friends instead of, we're competing against each other and we're getting into these later weeks. I mean, for us, we didn't necessarily want some teams doing well this week. And I think now that we're heading into the final few weeks, we're going to see more griefing going into this, next two, or we have Group C, I think, plays both Saturday and Sunday. So depending on the standings, people are going to be targeting each other. And LG actually, game one, landed down Beast on top of Optic, which sparked this whole thing in the first place. I think LG knew that they were going to get focused. There was some griefing going on in scrims where Optic was trying to land on LG. And I think LG was trying to get ahead of it and catch them off guard, which I think personally LG should have just ran Optic down and gotten them out of the game, because if LG could have gotten a big game one, then it could have changed the entirety of the rest of the games, because both of them did poor. Optic has the leeway to do poor this week because of how far ahead they are. And then LG ended up getting chased down pretty much for all of Stormpoint and the World's Edge when that first happened, because I'm sure we can get into that as well. LG landed Lava Siphon and then had to go East Frag. DZ and Oxygen were switching POIs. Optic was just trying to find LG the entire time. And, I think this is just a preliminary of what we're going to see going into these final 2 weeks, especially with a team like TSM, because no one wants them at LAN, to be fair. If you are a team that's going to make it to LAN, you don't want them there, because there's always a chance of them winning.
Yeah, it's a great point. It was madness today. Sorry, you're going to say something? Good.
No, I was just agreeing.
Yeah. It was madness today. It was really fun to watch. I think for game one, and you're back to Nocturnal. Sorry about that. Looks like the graphics package is messed up. Sorry, I'm not trying to do you dirty. It's the graphics package from last week.
I'll carry the torch for Skyhook teams.
That's right. You're holding it down. To be fair, Nocturnal was nice Wig for half of last broadcast, because Wig was supposed to do the show and I wasn't able to do it. I guess this is just, he gets his airtime now. But I think game one, someone said in chat, I think I did see that. We didn't see it on stream, but game one of World's Edge, you guys got dropped on fairly early in game as well. Did that happen, or was there a little bit of 50-50?
Game one of World's Edge? No, I don't think we 50-50'd.
Okay. You guys just split
we were pretty
Skyhook
free.
with XZ?
Yeah, we just split Skyhook. I don't think anyone 50-50'd us.
Yep, someone mentioned that chat. I wasn't sure if that was accurate or not. But great point, Eric, regarding a bunch of teams. LG was kind of in shambles today, trying to find somewhere to drop after not having the storm point that they wanted. And that's an interesting one. There's a couple of teams, and I'd love to kind of transition the discussion there. A couple of teams that you thought was maybe a lock, or you'd really expect to see on LAN, one, it's just the reality of the state of North America and how many teams there are, how much depth there is in the region. But LG, TSM are two kind of big household names at risk of not qualifying. Al, you obviously watched LG today. What do you think's going wrong for them?
Honestly, it's hard to tell since I can't understand their comms. So I don't know if they're going bad with macro or like if their fighting comms are off. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it is tough to say.
It could have to do with their comp. Yeah, it could
Yeah,
just be a comp thing for them.
I just think it's the playstyle thing that we talked about. I think it's like they are in a POI. Last split they had the Horizon and really aggro comps. They're a great fighting team, and I think this one is a more defensive situation. So their fights that they were used to taking aren't available as much to them anymore, and they're not. It doesn't seem like they're as good of a fighting team as they were last split. I watched them get 2v3'd by NRG on Stormpoint today in a situation where there's zero reason they should have lost it. And I don't know if that's just a confidence thing. Maybe they're just pressured because they know they have to perform now that we're in the second half, or what it is. But it definitely seems like they're not comfortable in comparison to where they were last split.
Was LG not playing their Horizon like bang comp?
No, I don't believe they were. I could be
Pretty
wrong
sure they were
about
playing
that.
Horizon
That's
today.
interesting.
Was it Horizon Bang?
I was gonna say
Yeah,
they
they were
played it in
playing Horizon.
scrims yesterday, so it'd be
Yeah.
interesting if they just didn't play it.
I just personally think Horizon right now is just super overrated. Like, there's no reason to pick her into things like Rampart. She beats Catalyst to an extent, but like, it's like a 90-second, 120-second cooldown on Horizon ult just to beat a Catalyst passive.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not really worth it.
I think it's more of a comfort pick, which is why a lot of teams go for it.
Yeah, but it's just a bad one. It's like playing Bloodhound when you could play Seer.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You know?
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying people are playing what they're comfortable with.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that. Obviously, a big part of TSM's success was Hal being the best Horizon in the world, one of the best Horizons in the world. They're so good on Horizon, and they've been struggling this year as well. So I think you actually might be onto something there. Eric, you agree? You think are you guys running Horizon? Do you think Horizon's off meta right now?
I kind of want to run Horizon. Like I kind of want to run like a Horizon Valk Seer comp just to see just because we have some leeway on our points right now. I think it would be interesting just to like have a little bit of variety in terms of what we run. I don't think we really need to change anything because it's working for us. You know, we had the one outlier really bad week where we got 18th, but I think it's good for us to try and play other comps. I still think Horizon's really good. I think the ult is a win con when it comes to late game. Like if you're in a position to have Horizon Q and ult and you're stacking buildings with other team, I feel like you're almost guaranteed the win in those types of situations. It really comes down to utility and the way that you use it properly. I don't think Horizon is necessarily go find every single fight that you can get. Her Q is not nearly as dominant as it was last split because you don't have the ability to just beam someone going up it, which was her strongest thing. Now it's more so like just taking positioning with her ability, so it's a completely different style that you have to use her.
Yeah, I think right now there's just a lot of underutilized, like, off-meta picks that we're going to see coming into play, like, once land scrims start happening, because I think people are going to be playing overly safe coming into these next, like, 2 game days for, day 6 and for regionals. Like things, I think we're going to see things like Gibby coming out. I think we're going to see things like Ashe coming out. I think we're going to see a lot more Bangalore. I think a lot of teams are going to be pivoting off of Catalyst because of just how good Rampart is. End games are going to be playing completely differently in the next month or two, I think.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting all types of excited for this discussion. We have a dedicated topic slot for meta. We'll get there. I want to get there. I want to wrap up with ALGS standings talk because I think that's important. And I'm surprised Amu didn't, smile cheek to cheek when Ashe got dropped as a potential.
Oh, I would love to. I love
Ashe as well. You and I are both on that train. I love
we're
that
probably
character.
the only ones.
So fun.
He's been trying so hard to convince Six and the boys
Yep,
to let them run Ashe. Yeah, we'll talk about that though. I'm excited to talk about that. Let's take a look at the standings though, because I think it's important. We're 1 or 2 days left of Pro League left. 2 days of Pro League, 1 more match point final, and we really got to talk about this, right? There's a couple of teams here, 11 through 20, that either are really big names or are names you wouldn't have necessarily expected, right? TSM. Oh, this is outdated actually. Yeah,
that's just from today.
This is from before today, right? Yeah. We'll come back to us.
Is this before today?
I think it is, right?
11
Yeah.
through 20.
I think
That's
this is
wrong.
today, isn't it?
That's
Wait,
today's games. Those are today's games.
Today's
Today's
Okay,
games.
we're looking
That's
at
the
overall
overall standings.
Okay,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
bad.
Sorry, y'all. Apologies. We'll get the updated graphic. Colonel, I'll send you the link right now and scroll down. You'll see the updated graphic there. We'll talk through it verbally, though, until we get the graphics up and correct. Sorry, he thought I meant standings for today's competition. I want to jump into the macro, though. We talked a little bit about the micro of today. Optic, obviously, was trying to grief LG, but still ended with a big 20-point game. They're still looking, I think they're looking the best of any team in North America. We'll talk about that. But first things first, the overall standings. You got Furia in 10th with 4 games played. They're looking good. I would include them in this list. Glitch Energy, a really much needed win today in performance. They're in 11th with 5 games played, 8 points above TSM in 12th with 5 games played. Drug Free, Lanimals, Albi are sitting right there with 47 for 40, right behind Drug Free with 48. Luminosity with 46, only 4 games played. So them not having a great day today certainly helps you, helps FaZe. But then there's Sentinels, all the way in 17th with 44. There's CLG, who started really strong, looked really good with the shiny pickup. 5 games played with 45. Native Gaming is a team that had a lot of hype coming in to Pro League and hasn't necessarily performed great. Oxygen, a game behind, had a roster change, obviously a big roster change. And then Tripods is another kind of big name I'm sure a lot of people want to talk about. They're in 28th place with 4 games played. Any of those teams I just mentioned, I want each of you to pick one. And if someone picked one, you also can't pick it. I'd love your thoughts as to kind of that team, or pick any of the teams I mentioned. What's maybe not going well for them, and do you think they have what it takes to bounce back these last 1 or 2 days of Pro League? I'm going to start with you of any of those teams I mentioned. Pick one and dissect them if you wouldn't mind.
I'd say probably the biggest team that would be able to bounce back would be LG. Simply because they're a day behind the other 2 groups, and they're still sitting around 15th. So basically, from what it sounds like, is they got kind of griefed, or at least griefed by Optic. They wanted them out of their POI. That's understandable. But this next week, Optic's obviously not in the lobby. So if they can bounce back on this next week, then they're definitely not out of it, because they still obviously have another game to play.
That's a great point. Yeah, they have another week without Optic in the lobby, who they've been getting contested by. Alb, you're next, and you can't pick Lanimals. I know I threw that name in the mix. You can't pick your own team.
Okay.
I just typed the names in the chat if you want to see.
Oh, don't worry, I'll pick you.
Yes, like that, yes.
I'd say I'm going to focus on Tripods a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that they've had a lot of interesting growth over the past couple months as a team, especially with Realm coming out. We've kind of seen who on that squad can play the dedicated IGL role that they kind of lack, because they have an interesting mix of personalities. IMO with people like Nick, who's very, very outspoken and very decisive, and I think he's really good at making micro decisions, like end game calling and fighting calls and stuff like that. And Gent, who's more quiet and relaxed, I think he's someone whose strength leans towards macro, and we've seen that in just in Realm games personally. I'm surprised to see that they're in 28th. I think they could be doing a little bit better, but I don't know. I don't think, obviously, at this point, 18 points in, there's no shot that they're going to make land, but I think that they could if they put these next 2 days in pretty well, unless they just win regionals.
Exactly.
I think that they could still finish in a respectable top 20 within these next 2 days.
Yep, top 20 gets them to the match point final, and then hey, some type of pop-off game. I don't think they've ever won a Pro League before, but maybe there's a first for everything. I might be wrong about that, but yeah, it's interesting. I guess one last thought on that. Actually, Eric, I'll ask you this, and then you lead until I want you to do Animals, because you obviously know Al really, really well. It's going to be interesting. One last thought on Tripods. Yeah, they don't. There's it's still kind of a question mark who their IGL is going to be. Gent is super soft. Gent and Nick are polar opposites in personalities.
Yeah,
Gent is
exactly.
super soft-spoken, knows the game really, really well. I think that's what Albert is alluding to. Nick, super outspoken, decisive. Who do you think should be IGL on that team, Snapdown?
I mean, I think at this point Nick would be the most comfortable one to be the IGL. I think Deeds and Gent can feed really good information, but I think Nick has the most assertive voice on that team. And if he's the one making the final call, then it's just the way he says things are more of commands rather than questions. Because when it's we could do this or maybe we go play here, those don't sound super just commanding the troops. And Nick is just a general when it comes to what he wants to do. I do think that because of how individually skilled both Gent and Deeds are, that there will be times that they do need to overcall certain situations. I know in the last game they were talking about how they should have just gone and played somewhere and held a team out instead of trying to force a fight when it was too late. I think there are, this late on, it's going to be hard for Nick to just be perfect when it comes to IGLing, because it is really late into the split. So I don't know if they're focusing on maybe what's to come in the future or what's going on there. I think Nick could be really solid if he started off as IGL, but now we're later on, so it's going to be more difficult. So Gent, as he was the IGL, still needs to be able to take over and call when something is uncomfortable, because I could tell they were uncomfortable in that final game.
That's a great point. And look, I teamed with Nick for 2 different occasions, 2 different teams. He was never the IGL for any team in Gears. He was never the core leader of the team, but he's very, very, very good at co-IGLing. Like, he sees something contributing, has a really good mind for the game. So I got to agree with you, Snipe. I think Gent maintaining IGL going into these last 2 weeks, crucial 2 weeks to make it to the match point final as a top 20 team. Stick to it, because it's a slippery slope to start, shuffling your IGL, and then you kind of lose your identity as a team with just 2 weeks left. But Nick, co-IGLing, I think, could be really valuable. I think the reps he's putting on Realm have been certainly helpful. So I got to agree with you on that. But let's shift topics here. Your team, your pick. And sounds like you already picked one. It's Lanimals. I'd love to get your take on this squad.
Well, I'm just excited for this last few weeks with Lanimals, because I talked to Mac a little bit. I was just in his stream watching him play League one night where he was just relaxing, and I was asking, he was talking about how they might want to play Gibby, and I think Gibby is, I think with how the meta is right now and it's random, I think Gibby, being the sole Gibby, could be a really strong pick. I mean, when Mac and I teamed, we played week 1, and our best week was with Gibby. And I think everyone on that team, like Mac and Lou, are both incredible Gibby players, so either of them could play that character, be really comfortable. They're one of the most individually talented teams in terms of what they can all accomplish. I've seen them all 1v3 people, or 1v3 teams, so abusing that character where, could you even do like a Gibby Rampart? I don't even know if that's like
That's what
you set up barriers
Holy
inside the Gibby bubble after you like launch in a spot, and all of a sudden you can like, and I think for a team like Lanimals specifically, because they are such a high intensity team, every one of them gets, the passion is flowing and nonstop. I mean, Naughty is just a lunatic when you listen to his comms half the time. So having that extra, I think 13 seconds with a Gibby bubble to like stall and just say, breathe for a second, let's find out what the best play is and reset, is huge for a team like that really is super momentum based. But once they have the call, like, they can all jump on it. And I like I said, being the only Gibby on the map is a huge bonus for a team that it has 2 Gibby mains that have shown a lot of success in the past playing that character. So I think this is the perfect time to try something new. I mean, I'm actually not happy with fucking Mac, because he brought out Rampart in the first place, like, and Alliance. Like, I hate that character with a passion. She's so frustrating to play against. You get charge rifles, like, the character is just annoying. But I think with a Gibby Rampart, that is a completely new meta that people haven't seen. And if there's a team that could bust it out and do well with it, I think they're probably the go-to.
Alb, I know you're itching to talk, and I can't wait to get your thoughts. I'm gonna have you hold it and really think about and synthesize your thoughts, because I want to get Anmu's take first, and then I want all that energy to explode from what's going through your mind right now. But Anmu, I'd love your take. You guys are the ones that pioneered the Newcastle Watson meta, which is kind of a similar, bunker up and be able to hit reset type of team comp. So we'd love to get your take on a potential Gibby Rampart team comp coming out from Lanimals.
Yeah, basically the reason why I see that being a potentially dangerous comp is that type of play style, those types of characters, it allows you to basically buy time when no other comp can buy time. You can play spots early that no other comp can play early. And then it just becomes basically holding the floodgates, playing damage control. You have extra damage shooting through the walls. They got to break those. By the time they break them, they're reloading. It's just... It's very hard to fight against if you basically position yourself, and that's 100% the hardest part about that comp, especially with the charge rifles in the meta. Like, your rotation is your Valcult. If you're getting shot out of your Valcult and landing, hitting the ground when you're weak, it's going to be hard to reset with all the Seers. But if you can manage that, I 100% seeing that being a lethal comp, and there's no reason why I don't see you guys being a great team on that.
Oh, baby. Well, look, I'm excited to get Alb's thoughts. If you agree, disagree, if these guys brought anything up you didn't think about, or what the thought process is behind that team comp. I'm guessing Naughty's going to be your third on Valk is what I'm guessing, but would love to hear your take on this.
Well, without giving away too much of our game plan of how we want to play it.
Get your notepads out, guys.
The basic idea is, like you said, like buying a lot of time with playing spots early that we can't play on any other comp. But it's very, very... The way that the comp is played is very reminiscent to the old Gibby Caustic playstyle, which all 3 of us are very, very comfortable with, as that was the most recent meta before the Horizon Seer one. So, there's going to be a lot of just slamming spots in Ring 4 that no one else can be near, taking a ton of space, and just playing for the end games really is what that comp is all about. You know, we're not going to be like cruising around edge and trying to find fights or like focusing on early KP. It's just going to be all like playing for the end game, making sure our Gibby ult's hitting like 9 people at once in ring 5 when all the cat walls go up, and just trying to close out games that way and just brawling in our bubble.
Damn. That's going to be interesting, man. Gibby I'm okay with. I'm with Eric. I cannot stand Rampart, Caustic.
I love Rampart.
Oh my god, I hate you so much.
The charge rifles wasn't me
so
though.
annoying.
That's not a Rampart thing.
Yeah,
It's
that's
so
not even
annoying
to play against. It's
It's
so
not even
boring
a
to
Rampart
watch.
thing. Like Rampart, the amp walls don't even buff charge rifle. It adds 6 damage to charge rifle.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
You can get two shot by a Rampart with a charge rifle.
Yeah,
The fact that you
it's for
can't, it's just
99.
the fact you can't back them off because they can't shoot you back. That's the
Yeah.
main thing about it.
Yeah, it is annoying because of that.
It's so annoying.
Just having to
If-
waste
if-
like constant ammo on the walls, and at some point it's like I'm not even gonna shoot these anymore. I'm just gonna
Yep.
not peek, and they just keep building walls. I think Rampart's biggest buff came when her walls actually were able to take 150 damage on drop, which is
125.
125, and before they would break instantly, and she was just useless. So I mean, just having instant cover, I mean, is a huge asset as a character because I mean,
Massive.
yeah, especially in a defensive meta.
And that's
Yeah.
ultimately why Newcastle, correct me if I'm wrong on me, but that's why Newcastle fell out of meta is because teams just started focusing Newcastle walls and you can't recharge them, right? Whereas Rampart, you can place another wall. What do you-
I
what do
think
you
it was more so that like the direct counters to Newcastle were more in meta. Like you got people flying up Horizon Qs, shooting you over your wall, breaking your gen, throwing nades, throwing bang smokes at the front of the wall. You can't do anything then.
Yeah.
So it's just it's not that Newcastle Watson's necessarily a bad comp. It's mainly that all of the counters to that comp are basically in the meta right now.
Interesting.
Because nothing happened to Newcastle Watson. It's the same thing when we played it.
It's the same thing, but I think teams started. I mean, early on, you didn't see teams focus on like team fire a Newcastle wall like they did.
Well,
in, Grief.
early on when we played it at Champs, there was one Horizon Seer team pretty much, and that
That's
was
a good point
Furia.
too. Yeah, that was Furia.
Everyone else
was.
was still on Gibby.
Yeah,
I'm surprised
yeah.
you guys haven't experimented with like Newcastle Rampart, because it's an interesting comp that's genuinely
Yeah.
not bad. For
Yeah,
a very,
we've
very
definitely
early
talked
team.
about that before. We just we're kind of just comfortable with how we're doing right now. Like our basically when we play bad, I think it comes from an energy point. We're our worst enemies. When we're all in there, we're having fun, we're making jokes, have really good energy. We're playing good. Like we feel like we can't be touched in a gunfight,
And pardon the ignorance.
and
Your
that's
team
crazy
comp right
because
now
we're
is-
on MNK.
Yeah, that's crazy. Pardon the ignorance. Your team comp right now. You guys moved to what?
Catalyst, Seer, Valk.
I thought
We're
I
still
thought
on
you
the
were
same
running
thing. Yep.
Vanilla. Yeah, okay, same vanilla comments. I thought. Yep, that's interesting. Well, from what I'm understanding, Alb, if you had to make a prediction going into playoffs, which is in 2 months, dude, we have 3 months almost. Like we have 3 months to playoffs. You think we're going to see a completely different meta by the time playoffs comes around after land scrims, after international scrims?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see nearly as much Catalyst. I think we're going to see a lot of Rampart, and we're going to see a lot of team comps based around sieging these Rampart teams because they buy far more time and they're far harder to push than Catalysts are.
I'm playing Fuse. At that point, I'm just playing Fuse. Just get a bunch of nades, just Fuse Qs constant. Because Maggie does. I don't think Maggie counters Rampart at all.
Maggie
'cause
doesn't
the,
do
the,
enough.
the,
It's
Q,
one-
the
She
Qs
doesn't.
do nothing. Like
She stops people from playing on the wall temporarily. Fuse is much better at slow sieges, but if you want to like explode into a Maggie's or into a Rampart's room, Maggie's a lot better for that.
Because of a wrecking ball?
Yep.
Yep, makes sense. Damn. Holy cow. That just got me thinking and excited. Rampart meta is here. I mean, you guys would say it's here or it's about to be here. We have, what, 7 or 8 teams running Rampart today, Alb?
it's approaching.
I'd
It's
say
approaching.
it's coming in. It's coming in
Yeah.
heavy.
Yep.
If you
Rampart
see
meta is
another
here.
fuse, don't shoot him. See another fuse, don't shoot him. We're queuing walls.
So I'm just hoping Rampart meta approaches fast now, so then by the time playoffs come, it's out of meta. And then keep in mind, May 8th, a new season comes out, which we're going to have a new character for the first time since Catalyst. I'm guessing there's a new I hope there's a new character. It wasn't last season. So who knows what that character will be and how things will change. But yeah, safe to say the meta is going to be a roller coaster. I think we all agree with that, right, Snipe?
Yeah, I mean, I like changing metas. Like I said, if we can play Ashe or if Fuse gets added into the meta, I think having the most characters involved is the best case scenario just for the game. I think when, like, as much as everyone loved like the Wraith, Watson, Path meta, I mean, it was boring. It really was boring to
one-dimensional.
watch. So I love the counters of characters, you know, like with like Watson had to be used when like it was like this nade meta, whatever. But you know, Watson might come back if a Fuse becomes meta. If Rampart becomes meta, Fuse is gonna have to be busted out to break some of these walls. You know, who knows if we start? Dude, actually, this is one thing. I think Ashe would be the coolest character ever if her portal had like a 10-second like back and forth. Like if you could go take it and then take it back, but it disappeared after 10 seconds. So it's kind of like the Wraith portal, but a much quicker, like quick flank in and out type situation. And if you don't get in, you're screwed. Like you didn't time it right. I think that would be one of the coolest things. I think that would allow for a different style of aggressive play that we don't really have at the moment because now that Horizon isn't as meta.
Yep, I'd agree with that. I think that'd be an interesting take. I think Ashe needs a buff. Personally, I just think her Q is so damn useless. It's insane.
It's a little bit better now.
It is, yeah, a little better. True.
Little bit.
Yeah. I still think in the grand scheme of things, her Q almost needs a rework or like I don't know, like a buff to her Q. I don't think was enough. That's my personal take. But I like that, Eric, because her value is her ult. I mean, you're one of the best Ashes in the world. You'd agree with that. Her value is her ult.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yep. That'd be an interesting value add and take. And then keep in mind, new season May 8th. Supposedly, rumor has it, leaks through the data miners. The new character's name is Ballistic. That sounds fun.
I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, that sounds
like
fun.
Fuse 2.0, but I don't really pay attention to too many leaks. So
I'm okay with someone named Ballistic busting out into the Apex, meta and scene, given Rampart and all this madness has been going on. So yeah, I am praying and hoping that the Rampart meta does not stay, because like I said, Al, you know this, we used to debate all the time around Path, Watson, and Wraith meta and how boring that was for the competitive scene. It's fun for you guys as players, but it's good to have diversity. It's good to have early game fights. That's why I like the Bloodhound meta. I personally thought the meta we saw at Champs, and then maybe not even Champs. I think the London meta was the best meta we ever had personally, in terms of entertainment value. And yeah,
Seer Horizon?
that meta was trash, man.
I hated that.
Seer Horizon was bad.
Horrible.
Seer Horizon was bad. But Seer Horizon wasn't hard meta yet then. Seer came after, didn't it come after
London?
In London?
No,
No, in
came after
London,
London.
London
All
was
20
the peak of
teams had
Seer
Seer.
Horizon.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm blanking. I'm thinking Champs. I'm thinking
yeah, you're
Champs.
thinking of Champs.
I'm thinking of
yes.
Champs. Yes, I'm mixing my land
Champs
events
was
up.
good.
Champs meta is what I'm thinking about. Yes, you saw a ton of diversity. Yes, Furia ran Seer Horizon. A couple other teams started running, like TSM tried running, Horizon and Maggie, and I think threw a Seer in there, and then they went back to their old trusted. But yeah, overall, I think Champs meta was the best we ever had. So I hope we get something good for playoffs coming up here soon. For sure. All right. Look, we've exhausted the conversation. It's a really good conversation. Let's move on to our next topic, which is state of the game. We'd be remiss, as kind of you guys are leaders in the community. You're vocal, but what I love about the three of you is you're constructive. You don't just complain for the sake of complaining. You guys are always constructive in your feedback and your criticism, which is great. And I think it's important for us to be constructive, but critical right now with where things are at. For those that aren't aware, APAC North, we'll talk about that a little bit later, so let's not index on that. But APAC North servers were basically unplayable, leading to a hashtag kind of movement. EA is leaving APAC North behind. A lot of APAC content creators are moving to Valorant, and APAC North is in an interesting spot. We'll talk about that later, like I said. But the biggest issue is obviously servers and then audio. Anma, I want to get your take first. You just played this weekend. Was it as bad as everyone's kind of making it out to be? And keep in mind, the people that don't do well are usually the ones that complain. You did well, so I'd love to get your take on is it as bad as everyone think?
There was definitely moments where we had no audio that could have changed the course of a gunfight, or same thing with servers. We've had sometimes where we just start lagging out of nowhere. Luckily those didn't occur when we were rotating or in the middle of a gunfight, so I guess we are kind of blessed for that. But when these issues are so constant, they happen all the time. If it was a one-off issue, that's something else, but I think every game you're going into it knowing that you're probably going to get no audio at one point. You're going to be lagging. You're going to have high ping. And, if it's that constant, I don't know. There just needs to be something done. Because, obviously you want to win, but when you're doing good, it just doesn't feel right when you're doing good. When everyone else is basically hitting these issues. Some teams just end up more unlucky. Sometimes they just die to audio. And if you don't run into that, obviously you could do good.
Yeah, it's a good point. And, continue getting your thoughts, Alvin Snipe. Eric, you're obviously watch party. You saw a lot of the tweets. But I believe we have either a clip or we have a tweet as an asset here. I think our clip is ready. So let's go ahead and let's watch a clip here. This is actually from Nocturnal's POV. Let's watch.
Scanning the door.
We have 2 kills?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm dead. I'm dead. Bro, what?
Shoot, that was me shooting him.
was that,
that was me,
you?
man. That was me.
Was that you for real?
I was wondering why I didn't move, but yeah, that was me.
Oh my god, let's watch it. We can't hear audio on our end,
North.
Chrono. I don't know if that's just me.
I can't hear it.
Trust me, they can't hear it either. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Bro,
this is live footage, actually.
It's the nemesis too. Like it feels like
most of
it's
the time
always the nemesis.
Most of the
or
time
energy
it's the
weapons.
nemesis.
Oh, the nemesis and energy weapons in particular tend to
Most
no
of the
audio.
time, yes.
Interesting.
I'd say like almost like 80+%
I would
of
say
the time it's
80+%.
nemesis. Yeah.
Yes.
The devotion used to have the same problem back in like season 5.
Yeah, it did.
You guys remember? You'd just explode to a devotion out of nowhere.
Wow. Insanity. That combined with a fully revved, I think your nemesis is fully revved there, right, Anu, for the most part? Or close to it? Or
I
was
think it
just
was at
shooting?
like 30. Might have been at
30,
30.
okay.
Yeah,
It
it
was
wasn't
just
fully
fairly
rev,
low.
but like still, he was weak already. So like, if you don't hear the shots, there's no time. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Especially because
yeah.
the nemesis like 2 bursts does like 130.
Yeah, it's just not a
Yeah,
balanced gun.
there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
It being like this for like 2 months is just insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I get why they do it when a season first come and then I guess let's finish the audio conversation. Then I actually had the nemesis on my list to talk about because I think that's an important one. Al, your take, your thoughts. I mean, do you agree it's like a red alert emergency must be fixed before LAN, or is it not that bad?
This is the worst state the game has been in probably about like a year and a half, maybe a little more. I don't know. At this point, I'm out of patience with the devs because like an issue this pressing and this common and this just game breaking should not be something that persists in the game for like months at a time. This is something that should be hot fixed within a week of it appearing. It should be like everyone should be prioritizing this. Like everyone on the team that can be allocated to like fix this should be fixing this. It's not like an acceptable bug at all. So I don't know. To me, it's pathetic at this point, the current state of the game.
Eric?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, Sweet posted something earlier today. It was like or share this if you've seen or if you've died to no audio, no tracers, no nothing. I get it on grenades, Bangalore. I've had silent Bangalore ults, silent grenades all over me. I mean, the Nemesis nonstop charge rifle, and people are like, oh, just pay attention to your health bar. I'm like, dude, I get hit for 130 on a blue armor before I realize it, and then I have 40 HP to react. And that happens to everyone. Sometimes, like, I'll have no audio while another person who's right next to me has full audio. So it's not like this is everyone gets it at the same time. Like, there are certain games where I'll have no audio issues, and I'll see the entire chat complaining about their whole team has it. So I don't know what's causing it, but I look at, this is a $1 billion company. I'm going to compare them to other massive companies, and at the end of the day, Riot Games is the golden standard of how you want to see developers communicate and react to issues, because I'll tell you right now, they would have it fixed within a week tops. If it was a week for Riot Games, that would be considered poor because of how high their standard is in comparison to everyone else. Like, they hotfix things that day if there are bugs, and they'll address it too. Like, they'll make statements on, hey, we have this issue, or we're disabling this weapon because it has these issues. But for me, it just seems like Respawn or whoever's behind the scenes is so focused on their next event or what they can push out or what they can sell that none of this matters to them, because in their eyes, they don't. This also goes on with the DDoSing issue or the cheating issue in ranked that people are complaining about. Like, the amount of people that have quit Apex this season specifically and gone to other games, I would love to see the results, or if you could do that, because everyone says that I have played almost no ranked because of the cheaters, and it's at this point it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that there is zero communication from their end, and then I have people telling me, oh, we're listening, we're just not addressing it, and you can't compare us to other massive people, because I compared it to traditional sports. You think the NBA is going to allow you to play on a course with potholes? Like, no, they're going to delay the game. They're going to say, we have like 2 months before the next LAN. Why was Pro League not delayed to address and fix these issues? Because we're all playing on very subpar situations where it's costing us as professionals the chance of winning millions or competing for $1 million or $1 million+, and it just doesn't seem like it matters. It's just all about what can we push out for the people to buy. That's my take.
You see that all across gaming these days, honestly. Everything
Yeah.
is just profits, and never like quality. But then some games do come out where the quality is just so high, and then their profits just go to Narnia because, people have been waiting for that quality for so long that they were just You know, we're all just starved of quality at this point. That's what people want to pay for, not cosmetics. No one cares.
It felt
about
like
this
we got a
anymore.
little bit of a breath of fresh air too. Like when they canceled that 1 week, we finally thought that they're listening. Like we're gonna get these changes fixed, and then like they throw out just like a trials fix, no mention about the audio, no mention about servers, no mention about DDoSing and ranked. Like it felt like we were finally getting listened to, and then like all of a sudden 1 week they don't fix the main issues, and then they're like, yeah, you guys are playing this next week, by the way. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of a joke to me.
Have you guys looked at the unofficial Pred leaderboards and seen how many people are like just banned on it constantly?
Yeah, it's,
yeah.
it's
Like if you just
ridiculous.
go through, like it's like the top 50 is constantly getting flushed, just constantly. There's like 10 or 15 people on that page alone that are legit. It's ridiculous.
I think the last thing that I want to say on that topic is when it gets to a certain point where this has been happening for over a month, like we're going on almost 2 months of these audio issues and there's been nothing addressed. I start to question, and I know like I respect the people who do development and the coding. I know it's difficult. It's not an easy job, but I start to question the talent behind the scenes of who is responsible for the audio issues and how has it not been found and fixed in a timely manner. Because, and I'm sure they're great at their jobs, but these are supposed to be the best of the best people at what they do. How has it taken this long to fix something like this? And if it's that bad, like say, I don't care if you have to tell us publicly, we can't figure it the hell out. But at least I have some sort of reasoning, because when it's not addressed, I just think you don't freaking care. Like you really just do not care, and your only goal is to push out cosmetics.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing all of your takes. A lot of really good points brought up. One common thread across every single take that I think I want to double down on, just in wrapping up, is transparency in communication. And at the end of the day, no one's perfect. It's a hard issue, I'm sure. Keep us updated throughout, I think, is important. And I think even if it's not fixed, the fact that it has been multiple years, and I don't think, has there ever been a blog post addressing audio?
Yes.
Yeah, there
There has been. There has been. Okay. So it's been acknowledged as a challenge. And like it's something that they're working on, but consistent updates throughout. Here's what's happening. We're noticing this issue. I think, Eric, you brought up kind of the gold standard, which is Riot and Valorant, and disabling guns for periods of time until it's fixed. Hot fixing issues is what Al brought up. I think at the end of the day, transparency as to why ALGS was canceled. It was to fix the trials issues, it seems. I think expectation setting is everything. If you set the expectation of, hey, look, we're doing this to fix trials, and then we're back on, it's not going to get people's hopes up to think that audio and servers and other things are also kind of being worked on in the back end. So yeah, I think it's super important. Look, it's a hard job as a dev. I think everyone here has empathy. The four of us do, and I hope everyone that's watching has empathy. No harassment, no hate speech, no hate ever towards devs. That's totally unacceptable. Constructive criticism and critical criticism is important. So be critical, be respectful, but at the end of the day, also have empathy with understanding it's a really tough situation. But at the same time, I think one big loss that we had was one person on the topic of transparency. You guys remember RK Rigney? Rigney,
Yeah.
was the community manager, director.
Yeah, he went to Omega Strikers. I believe.
Exactly. He's at Omega Strikers, working at Odyssey Games now on Omega Strikers, and that was a massive loss because I think he really did take a transparent approach. Ghostiami's another one.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think studio director left. There's been a lot of turnover, and it's hard when you come into a new role. I can't assume or speculate, but when you come into a new role, you don't really know the community that well. You don't know the team. You don't feel like you're empowered to speak up yet. You're still trying to prove yourself. It's hard to kind of like take that transparent role where you don't, maybe if you're not empowered to do it. I don't know what the reasoning is, but ultimately, I do hope that a transparent approach can be taken because that's the most important thing. Communicate with us. We're all very understanding. We have a very respectful community. Yes, Apex pros are very vocal, but compared to Halo pros, Eric, and compared to Gears pros, it's night and day in terms of how respectful pros are and empathetic pros are in Apex. I think.
I'd
I
say the
think
pros are pretty good, but the
think
general
so.
community is very volatile towards the developers.
Facts. Yes, that's true. That's a fair statement. Yeah. So look, don't want to belabor the point. Good to get your guys' takes. Last topic, last note on this. I mentioned we talk about it. Is servers in APAC North. Al, you're a big student of the game globally. I'm sure you kind of kept up with some of the clips. I'd love you to start, Al. Did you see some of those clips on APAC North?
Oh, like the players running around in slow-mo, even from a spectator POV, and admins saying they don't see the lag. Yeah.
Yes.
I saw. Oh yeah, I saw that. That was pretty interesting. That we could see the lag from a spectator POV on streams on the main broadcast, but the admins themselves allegedly couldn't see it. That's I don't know. It's pretty interesting to me. I think that's I don't know. It's a little weird that persisted for what, 3 games, almost 4 games. They were playing in slow-mo.
I mean, there's whole chat logs of the Discord of every single person complaining, and they're just like, "Oh, nope, like no restart,
Yeah.
nothing." I mean, delay the week, do something to show that
should be
you.
replayed.
Yeah, like I mean, and there. Oh, someone died. Like we can't replay. Like come on. Like, I mean, It's just feels. I mean, I get why the players are saying it feels like we've been forgotten about. I mean, almost every region says that, and they're always like, NA has all the support, all this and that, but we feel it too. Like we see, we're getting, we're complaining now, and every other region is just feels like it's not as serious.
Yeah, it's just catching up to NA. That's really it. Like we're finally feeling what all the other regions have been feeling for a long time. So I mean, at this point, it's up to like all of us really to just kind of put our foot down.
I don't think it was just APAC North either. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Challenger Circuit was running into the same stuff.
Today,
I think even yesterday, like the start time is supposed to be, I think it was like 3, and they didn't even get to play a game for an hour and a half because of servers. Like the servers just weren't doing anything. And then when they even played, like they ran into the same issues. They were like rubber banding everywhere. It was slow-mo servers, and like the games just weren't getting restarted. It just feels like they just honestly don't care.
Yeah, well, we actually, for those that did not catch the clip that Albert Lodi so vividly described, we actually have the clip live for everybody. Let's look here.
さあ、刺さった。刺さった。
Now you can actually talk over this. We don't have audio, but the stream does.
してるらしい。
We've all experienced this at a game in a server of Apex.
しぶとい。
In a
つい
pro
な。
match and to not be reset is kind of crazy, right, Albert?
Yeah,
いい上で持っていく。
that's an off-spawn contest, and you
あ、
can
さ
see
つ
that
き
they
が
were
いい位
lagging
置。あ、
before
さつきの位
players
置。
even
それです、
got
それ
out.
です。これも合わせるだけじゃないですか。は
That
い。
game absolutely did when we started.
さあ、すごい。
Yeah.
これはレイヤーズが
All
苦
those
しい体
players
力。
got to loot up
ロ
and
キ
then fight at
さ
that
つき
bridge
がプラウラーで
before
それ
we
来
start
た
out.。
ちょっと引きれなかったか。
Gotta move the
ま
car
あ、のレイジーからのさつきの動き。
Like,
I mean, I get better support in
そして完璧なマーク。
Realm and in the Apex Rising event
いけない
in
か。
terms
あ、
of
これ窓が変わらせて
reacting
るんです
to
ね。
the pros complaint.
見え
Like
る。
if you have
は
an
い
entire Discord chat of multiple different teams complaining about lag, I mean, that's all you need. Like, I mean, it's a restart. Like, Realm completely voids games if the lag is too bad, and they're like, okay, well, that one shouldn't count for anyone because everyone's affected negatively, and you just have to pay attention. And they just completely void it and say, back out. We'll restart another game and play a new one. And you would think like the standard should be what ALGS sets, not them having to learn from like other event organizers that are just throwing these for the first time. Like I shouldn't be getting better support from third-party tournaments over the main thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's transition the topic here. Yeah, obviously important discussion. Again, all we can do is hope that, again, communication, transparency is kind of key here and is addressed. I think that's the most important thing. I think we all agree it's a bit unacceptable for that lobby to not have been restarted, or that those players to not have been acknowledged if everyone's agreeing on it, etc. So yeah, we'll see. Next couple of days if a statement's made or what decision is made there. That's a big one. But let's transition here to state of our esport, kind of all up. APAC North was the start of that discussion. We just talked about that. There's a feeling in APAC North that the community is being left behind. Al, I don't know if you've seen any of that, that feeling or any of those thoughts. Obviously, the servers is part of it, but there's kind of more to it. A lot of the content creators, a lot of the VTubers are now moving with like Visaiku and all these really, really good programs. For those that don't know, someone named Shibuya Hal, he's on TSM. He's a VTuber in Japan, massive. Hosts something called Visaiku or Visaiku. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it or butchering it terribly, but really, really great tournaments and Apex esports events, bringing new VTubers and new people into the mix. And people like RPR and Nocturnal have been coaching those teams to help them learn competitive Apex, which is really awesome. It's actually similar to what we're doing with Apex Rising here in North America. But that group are now doing Fall Guys tournaments and Valorant tournaments and other games. There's just kind of feeling that APAC North is being left behind. Al, I'd love your take on that, because again, like I said, I know you're a very big student of the global scene. The non-move, if you have any thoughts as well, I'd love to go to you after, but I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, with APAC North specifically, it's incredibly hard for them to even just play the game normally because of, well, really, it all leads back to cheaters, right? Their servers, they have it the worst by far with the cheating problem, with the DDoSing problem, with server inconsistencies with ping. Sometimes if you queue onto Tokyo, I used to play on Tokyo servers just for fun here and there, and sometimes, I'd get a game where I'm 140 ping, and other times I get a game where I'm 300 ping, and I'm moving in slow motion, and that's it's not like I pinged to Singapore or something randomly. It would still be Tokyo. It was just how inconsistent their server quality is. I think that pushes away a lot of players, because like, who wants to play a game that they can't practice on their own server in any kind of consistent way, right? Especially content creators. Who wants to sit around in pubs all day and just like chill that way, where they can get stream sniped by anybody and, you know, have their games ruined by either just a stream sniping DDoSer or more cheaters or just anything, right? It's really hard to make content for the game right now, but especially more so for the APAC North people, I feel.
Anu?
Yeah, I could agree with just about everything he said. If there's one, I guess, positive that comes out of like the state of rank, for example, in NA, is it basically puts us in the shoes of what APAC North has been dealing with for probably years now. Like, we're constantly complaining about the cheaters now on our server, like the server issues, obviously, DDoSing, but like APAC North's been dealing with that for a while, you know? So like, it's understandable they feel that they've been like left behind, and Respawn or EA, whoever it is, doesn't care about them.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing, is we all know the Apex culture in Japan is remarkable. I mean, it's a beauty. We saw, you know, everyone's seen the Times Square, whatever their Times Square equivalent is. I can't remember what it's called. You know, light up
It's
with
in
Apex.
Shibuya.
What is it? Sorry.
It's in Shibuya.
Oh, it is
It's
in Shibuya. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a
Yeah.
big crossing. It's a very, very popular city in Japan. You'll see that in Shibuya, and you'll see places in Tokyo with all the billboards.
Insane. Yeah, and you see Apex is just a core part of their culture. I had a friend that knows I do Apex and doesn't know anything about Apex, and went to visit Tokyo and saw on a subway an Apex Legends poster and sent me a picture of it. And it's all over there. It's amazing. And it's such an important and pivotal part of our community. It's an important, pivotal part of our esport. We haven't even had a LAN event there yet. You know, hopefully we can turn things around and keep on growing Apex Legends in Japan. They got a lot of love for the game. I don't think it's yeah, exactly.
So
I don't think it's sounding the alarms yet by any means. I think that now is a very pivotal time. How, you know, Respawn reacts and responds to these issues is really important. I think this is the first time that a true cry is going to be felt, because now we, you know, in North America are speaking to it as well. So I'm hopeful. You know, like Respawn, we've been critical of them at times. We've been singing their praises so many times. Season 16 was such a successful launch, right? We were really excited about that. So I am hopeful that, you know, a lot of this feedback is going to be received. And you know, Apex is such a core game, an important game for EA. It's at the same kind of level as FIFA or EAFC now. That I'm hopeful that EA invests in the right ways to make sure we can fix some of these things. So cheers to a better future, y'all. Again, a lot to be critical about, but constructively critical. And at the end of the day, no hate speech, no hate, no harassment. Alray's right. The general Apex community is so brutal towards developers, and we need to blacklist that behavior, because developers are people. And that's the most important thing, is we treat people with respect. So a lot of love to Respawn. I know really tough challenges to tackle, and I have hope that we will be able to tackle that. Nothing but love for all the Respawn devs that work their butts off, because we know that they love the game as much as we do. Obviously, people like Josh Medina and Jay Beebs and so many others there. Thank you all for all the hard work. Let's shift the topic now. State of the esport, in terms of more on the positive front. Like, what can we do on our end? Because you're right. The biggest point of discussion here is there's a lot that falls in EA and Respawn's hands to fix the game, and ALGS and other things. But I'm a firm believer, in the last couple of months especially, I've kind of gotten obsessed with this idea that we could do more as a community to step up and to play our part with grassroots events, community events. Now that they gave us private servers and custom codes, etc., to content and things like this show to help the scene grow. So I'd love to get your take on that. Snipe, I'm starting with you. What can we do to try and help Apex Esports grow? How can we all play a part?
I mean, I think what we're doing right now, just having this open discussion about us trying to, you know, North America, we have had it good in terms of comps. So us, you know, speaking up on behalf of other regions who don't have it as lucky as we do is a huge way for us to unite as a community. And even hosting, you know, this podcast or Wig's podcast or just some of the other stuff that is coming out is a great way for, you know, people to get to know the professionals more, get to hear from us instead of just, you know, watching us blindlessly play the game all day. I think this is a good way for people to hear a lot of different perspectives. And you know, I love hearing my fellow competitors' perspectives as well when it comes to this, to make sure that I'm not just shouting at clouds on my own. So I mean, I think this is, you know, this a great thing that we're doing right now, and I'd love to just get as many different types of opinions and viewpoints as possible to really just keep us united.
Love it. Abdullah?
Honestly, I don't have much more to add onto just what Snipe said, really. I think the podcasts are kind of just bringing the community together as a whole. You know, seeing a lot more of our peers on there, just giving their thoughts on the current state of the game, and I guess just putting more pressure on devs to like get these things fixed. I think it's very hard right now to like actually put together some meaningful events right now, just because of how things are. So
Yeah, and I'd love to get your take with the spin on. Yeah, maybe it's hard with how things are to put on events, but you just participated in an event. I think you had good feedback, and we've heard a lot of good feedback with the Apex Rising Charity Pro-Am that was completely by the community, for the community, community-driven, fun content, but still competitive, giving new players a chance to grow. So, I would love your take on that event and events like that, Oversight, Celestial Cup, and others that are making an impact.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to deny the impact of basically one-off events, kind of like the Apex Rising. Basically, you're giving other players that put their hours in, grind this game, you're giving them a platform, giving them an area to like showcase how good of a player they are, how funny they are as a content creator. It's just opening so many more doors for Apex to grow as an esport. Like, you're giving a lot of people that don't necessarily have as big of a platform a place to shine, and I think that's the main thing.
Eric, you guys farmed top 5 in the winners bracket finals. You had some fun with Cruz and with Chap. What was your thoughts on that event?
I mean, I had a great time in the event. I think the teams were really evenly balanced overall. I pretty much saw the people who I thought was going to make it to the finals made it to the finals. I think, it was, it wasn't for money. So I was just enjoying the games with my teammates. We were laughing while we were playing the games, but also taking it serious. And, I'm really happy with how my team turned out. We just had a good time, had fun, and I think that's what that was all about. It was for a great cause, and at the end of the day, just being able for me to still be competing, but not like so invested to where if I don't perform well that I'm, ruining my day, it's ruining my week, like some of this ALGS stuff does. It's nice to be able to take a step back, and because I haven't been able to play ranked and I enjoy competitive so much, like, I was just thoroughly happy with being able to invest my time into something that was just for a good cause and a good reason.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, and then look, that event and Celestial Cup and Oversight and His and Hers tournaments and so many more, that's how we can have an impact. Like, the fact that there's only 3 LANs this year and they're all in London is obviously a big disservice to the North American and APAC and other communities, South America, etc. But with that said, it's not like EA is gatekeeping LANs. Like, I know Crafty Joseph really well. I know John Nelson, the commissioner of the LGS, really well. They would love, and they are super supportive of third-party events. Crafty Joseph works around the clock to support third-party events. He's one person who signs all the contracts and does everything with the 40, 50, 60 third-party events going on a monthly or bi-monthly basis. So all that to say is that's where I think we can step up. Like, Apex Rising was a first start of again, by the community, for the community. Oversight's been great. How can we merge those two things? I'm actually having conversations with Tempo. We've been talking for months, and Chrono and others of how we can merge those two things, or maybe all get together. Yusakis has now kind of joined our team, who does a lot for that scene, the women's scene, to do more, to see what more we can do to have our impact and place our stake. So Al, I know you didn't have a chance to participate in the Apex Rising tournament. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it, but it was cool seeing Hal kick back, relax, and memeing and laughing. I've never seen Hal laugh that much and have so much fun playing in a tournament ever. Running crazy comps and all types of good things, and that format was made for you, by the way. This is why I was trying to get you to play it so bad, getting the IGL team of amateurs and teach them the game. But your final thoughts on this topic as we wrap up.
I mean, yeah, I caught a little bit of the tournament. It didn't, it looked fun. It did look fun. Yeah. It's a shame I didn't get to play in it. I had the stuff going on, I DM'd
sure.
you.
No worries.
But yeah, it did look like it was a good tournament, and I'm glad that it turned out the way it did. You guys, raised a lot of money for a really good cause.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. And shout out to Apex community. For those that did not hear, we raised $337,000 in 2 days. $337,000. It was insane. And sorry, I was texting my production team here. Kudos to everyone that contributed, that got involved and donated. Deltouche even came back for a watch party. His watch party was hilarious. Such good content. And just a massive thank you to everyone for that. And then lastly, Snipe, you mentioned it, content like this, podcasts, shows, ways to get the pros to build their brands. I talked a lot about that in Reddit recently with a Reddit thread. Really good discussions. Thank you everybody for being civil in that thread. Really good discussions across the board of what we can do as a community to help create superstars out of players like Anmu and Aberleli and Snipetown, but then Kashera and others that really do deserve it. So I know there's a lot that we can be critical of. It's important to be critical constructively, but let's also be positive and really control our own outcome and what we can. I think that's it for this topic. But big thanks everyone for the support in this tournament recently. Let's do more. Let's keep growing as a community. I think that is our last and final topic. So we're gonna wrap up. There's obviously also other content like Wide Flank, White Wigs podcast. Make sure to show support there. The Apex podcast with Finicky and the boys, great content there. So let's keep supporting one another. Let's all rise up as a community once again and do good things and help this thing become a long-term esport. I know I belabored this point last week, so I won't do it again. Final thoughts, guys. I want to wrap this up. I know you had a long day. Al, thank you for doing this. I want to start with you. Any final thoughts on anything? ALGS, the floor is yours. ALGS status, where we're at as a community, the floor is yours.
I mean, I'm just kind of excited for the future, honestly. I know we put a lot of hate onto EA and Respawn, but I believe they're trying still, even though we don't feel that way all the time, but I believe they care, and I believe they're going to do it. I believe they're going to be able to fix everything. So I got faith in them.
Al?
I want to have faith in them.
I
Can't say I do, but I want to.
Al is jaded,
I'm
man.
a glass half full.
I
I'm
can't
a glass
blame him.
half
He's
full
jaded.
kind of guy.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm hopeful that season 6. Well, what are we going into? 17?
17.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that season 17 is a hell of a lot better than what we've got right now. That's what I got going on in my head.
We're at rock bottom is what you're saying, so it can only up from here.
Yeah, it's only up from here, man.
Yeah, I get why you're jaded, man. I totally understand. You've been the longest lasting one of the longest lasting top competitors in the scene. Obviously, since the very beginning of Apex. You've been here since day one. No one has as much passion as you. But no, I'm with Anmu, man. Half glass full. Maybe it's the Midwesterners, Illinois boys, and us.
I'm saying half full.
That's right. But yeah, exactly. But I know the devs are working hard. I do know that they are passionate about this game. I'm hopeful. Snipetown, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel both sides. I personally, Apex is the most passionate community that I've been involved in. It's a broad community. It's global. And I think Apex is one of the best games that's ever been launched in terms of FPS. And, whether it's a BR, FPS, the team deathmatch control, there's great things that this game has that other games don't. Like, the replayability is there. And I think this is a game that could have a 10-plus year life cycle if it's just taken care of properly. And I think, at the beginning of this split, I think it was the most played that Apex had been in a very long time. Like, I think the numbers were through the roof. And, it sucks to see that we all thought that we were getting this revamp. A new character wasn't launched. We all thought it was going to be like they're going to focus on fixing all the issues in the game, and that this was like the Operation Hotfix that we were going to get this season. And I'll take the old audio at this point. Like, I wouldn't even complain about the old audio anymore. Like, just get me back to that, and I'll be happy. I don't even care at this point. But like, I would love to see more LANs, whether it's third-party tournaments popping up, and if we can do more as a community, then I want it to stick around, because I truly do love the Apex community, the fellow competitors that I've been involved with. I came from Halo, where it felt like everyone was against each other all the time. It doesn't feel like that. Like, I feel like I'm close with almost every single person I'm competing against, and we all want the same thing at the end of the day. We're all frustrated, but I would prefer it to be here to stay instead of it dying out because it wasn't taken care of properly and everyone has to go split up their own way, because I think it is something special. The community is something special. The game is special. And I think we all truly just want the same thing. And if we can have some sort of form of open communication from the devs, we are also here. Like, we're frustrated, but we're here to talk about stuff. We're here to send in clips. I think Zach might be working with Respawn on some of these issues. Get more pros involved. Get more pros involved with this. We're pissed, but we want the same thing. We want the same goal. So those are my final thoughts.
I got one more thing.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's not that the game is bad. That's not why we're all mad. It's because the game is so good, but it's just being mishandled right now. Like, it's so close to greatness, what this game could be right now, and they're just fumbling just shortly every time. As soon as we're right there, they just always hit a wall. We just need to get through that wall, man. And right now, with I think that the issues right now are bringing the community together enough that this hopefully could be what helps us break through the wall that's been holding the game back for the past I'd say 2 seasons have been a little rough, But right now, it's definitely at its roughest. But I think we'll get through it.
It's a half full energy. There it is.
there it
That's
is.
the
You
half
turn it
full
around,
energy.
baby. It's a little Midwest thrown in out. Where are you from again? Where'd you grow up? I can't remember. Where'd you grow up again? West Coast, East Coast?
New Jersey, East Coast.
He's an East Coast boy. That explains it.
That's
Totally
it.
get it now.
That's it.
Totally get
Jersey.
it. That is the half glass, glass half full. No, that's spot on, man. I love that. It's beautiful words. Truer words have never been spoken, and I love that mentality because you're right. We're this close. The game is so good that we want it to be perfect, and we know how much of an impact this game could have if we get there. And I get EA's perspective too. Like we've had the most successful last 2 seasons. There's continued growth season over season, so we're critical as pros because and pro players in general are critical because we know of the game's potential, and this could all come tumbling down in a moment if the rest of the fan base starts to realize these same things. But at the same time, a lot of these issues are like the top elite of the elite, and the average casual player doesn't even recognize audio issues exist, right? So that's what's important, y'all, is that we bridge the gap and we understand EA's perspective, we understand the casual's perspective, as hard as it is. Season 16 might not have been the hot fix that we wanted as pros, but it was amazing for the longevity of the game because it gave Mixtape as a playlist a chance for new players to come in and not just get absolutely destroyed in a battle royale game and then they have to respawn back in and wait 20 minutes to play. And it gave you a chance to learn the game, learn the mechanics, the firing range changes. There were some really healthy changes for the open funnel, which gets people on the journey to becoming a competitive player and a fan of ALGS and then maybe a pro player. So a lot of healthy things happening there. I think we all agree about that. But at the very, very top, there's certainly reason to be critical, but we're hopeful for that reason. I know we said final words. Any final words after that? I'm look like you're going to say something.
Nah, I'm good, man.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie.
Awesome. Yeah, I know you're tired, man. I love
I'm
a long day.
tired.
Great discussions, though. Yeah, great discussions overall. We're critical because we love this game and we have nothing but faith in the future of Apex Legends. Obviously, it's our favorite game. It's close to perfection, as Albert said, and we're all grateful for all the hard work that goes into it. But look, everybody, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed the After Hours show. We try to keep these a little tight and quick and well-produced to make sure they're high-quality content for y'all. Make sure to drop us a follow on Twitter at Apex After Hours, as well as Instagram, TikTok. And we do have a podcast as well on Spotify, so this will be uploaded tomorrow to our Spotify podcast. If you want to catch it at the gym or on the way your commute to work or any of the above, it'll be uploaded to YouTube as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Big thank you to Onmu of 100 Thieves, to Albert Lely of Lanimals, and of course to Snipe Down of what? All right, Chrono's like, Fallout, shut up. That's the equivalent of like the orchestra playing at the Oscars. Fallout, stop talking now. Okay, we'll wrap up. Thanks everybody. We'll catch you next week for Apex After Hours after the ALGS. We're thinking about doing a double banger next week, Saturday and Sunday. So make sure to come back and give us any feedback you have. Please tweet us. Let us know how this can be better. But cheers to the continued growth of competitive Apex, everybody, and have a great night.